Do-do-do-do. Just checking the Discord, seeing how things are going. Sup, Core Six Beaver? Seeing what you guys are talking about in the Discord. I want to meet a Westoid. Westoids! Westoids. How am I? How am I? That's a good question. That is a good question. It's April, and as some of you guys might know, I am going back to New York in September. I think I probably said this before. Again, I feel like I'm repetitive a lot. It's gonna be a pattern, I guess. There's just gonna be things I'm gonna repeat, but yeah, it kind of feels like senioritis. You know, um, when I don't know how you guys felt when you were in high school or in college as a senior, especially after getting to college, right? That happens. Well, if you're lucky, like I wasn't, you get early admission to college in December or January. You find out about it, and you have senioritis for the entire fucking time thing. But I was deferred or waitlisted, and so I did not have senioritis until April. April 15th, I believe. Oh, it's coming up. I believe that's the date where the college hopefuls find out if they're getting raped by the system or not. Sup, Andrew Yu. Everyone's sorring in. But, yeah, so I only had like a couple months, I guess, of senioritis there. And not really because, you know, it was like a month of like silent treatment from my mom. So that was a great senioritis, I guess. But then my senior year of college, I actually was pretty lucky because sophomore and junior years, if you're going to economics or going to finance stuff, you usually typically want like a standout resume, in banking or consulting or, in any of those things. But I had not gotten anything my junior year, which is critical for internships, I guess. And so I was very nervous my senior year going in. It was kind of like a repeat of senior year of high school. But then senior year of college, I managed to get a job really, not quickly, but January of that year. So I had like a full 5 month senioritis. It's just kind of like you've been in high school or whatever for, 12 years, right? Been with the same people. You're ready to move on to the next stage of your life. Same thing with Durham, North Carolina. I know Core 6 Beaver knows about this, I think. Right? Yeah, I think they do notify you if you're admitted online, saving on that, I guess, the paper. Back in the day, for all you youngins that are here, we didn't find out immediately. We had to check the mail every day, see if we got a thick envelope or like a small ass envelope. Obviously, the small ass envelope was a very bad sign. So I guess they kind of told you before they even told you back in the day with the size of the envelope. Um, though I think like maybe soon after my era, they started doing it where they sent you the mail as a, but I think it was all like a small envelope, and they sent all the material. If you got in, then all the materials online, right? So they that's probably like a both a paper saver thing and also a not wanting to give away thing. The decision before you actually open it thing, and then now it's now that they just I guess just tell you on an email. Just I saw one of those TikToks where this 18-year-old is like, well, didn't get there, didn't get in there. He started with the UC, presumably a safety. That ended up being the only school he got into. He was an Asian dude, of course. But yeah, it's almost like you want to start with the with the with the hard ones first, because you know that the I don't know if I started with the UC and I didn't get into the UC, I would be very nervous. So why make the video? Well, I guess like if you didn't get to UC, probably wouldn't even upload the video. That would have been pretty embarrassing, I would guess. But anyway, all this to say, I feel like a senioritis right now. If you're asking how I'm doing, I guess it's it's I've been in LA for 13 years now. I spent a year back in New York during COVID, so it's only 13, not 14, since 2012, September 2012. So by the time I leave, it will be 13 years, since that'll be like 14 years, but then a year in New York in between. So, I've been feeling this more and more now. Feel like maybe I should have moved or decided to move earlier, actually, almost. But I think there's in the similar vein, like if it is senioritis, it kind of does feel a little senioritis for me because it is in September, right? It's kind of like I'm starting again in September. I don't know if that was on purpose or not. Maybe that was like a mental, like subconscious thing I did just to be like, oh yeah, this is like, now my LA education, 13 years in LA. Jesus, that's like kindergarten plus K through 12 pretty much, right? I pretty much did K through 12. My own K through 12 as an adult in LA. It's now coming to a close. And it's just kind of like, I don't know. At the end of high school, it's not like I don't know. At the end of high school and in the end of college, I had college friends. I had high school friends, of course, but it's just kind of like, man, this hit me like soon after the World Series, right? Like, I was never really popular in my high school. I was started at the bottom quintile of popularity when I was in first grade, and then I worked my way up to the second quintile. Right, never quite the popular kids, but the second quintile of popularity. I was able to work my way up, but it was never really like a cool dude or whatever. But then after, the World Series of Poker, blah, 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 all the people who kind of like, it was just like, you just feel like you outgrow them, right? You just like, All right, it's why I don't even care what these people ever thought, right? Um, and the same thing, but maybe to a lesser extent at Duke, since I mostly hung out with, because it's so much bigger, right? That there are so many people to hang out with. You don't have to even see the people that you probably don't even want to see if you didn't want to. You could, there was a lot of enclaves, social enclaves, so it was just kind of more. But ironically enough, I talk to some high school friends more now than I do any real college friends. Part of that is also because, like, Duke is in North Carolina, and it's just kind of like at the end of, senioritis with North Carolina, you're just kind of like, I don't know when I'm ever going to be back here again, If I was going to school, like, in UCLA, I feel like senioritis wouldn't feel that, like, fuck this place, I'm out of here, You're probably going to be in LA. Or if you were in Columbia, say, you're probably going to be in, New York afterwards. Or there was a good chance a lot of Columbia people were going to New York. Or same thing with UCLA. A lot of people probably stay in LA. Because there's... but if you're going to a school like Durham, for example, or even like UPenn, for all that matter, you're probably going to go to New York if you're at UPenn. Probably going to go to somewhere else if you're at Duke, for sure. You're not staying there, that's for sure. So that's kind of like what's been going on in my mind. Like LA, I made some friends obviously through the Korean church and through the industry. But of course that was early on, and I no longer go to that Korean church. I haven't gone to that Korean church since 2015, 2016. I haven't even visited since like 2019, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago for like Easter or something. So I'm kind of like checked out of that. I still have like, it's funny. There's this like, yeah, there was this one girl who actually tried to like hook me up with her friend of hers. Really friendly. But yeah. But aside from that, yeah, I kind of checked out of that. Obviously, the church, and the people there. I don't really talk to anyone there really. And as far as the industry goes, well, the industry itself is fucking dying. Second of all, people who come into the industry, especially like 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago, a lot of them aren't there, like me, right? Like, obviously. And the third thing really is just kind of like, yeah, the industry's just dead. Everyone's kind of like abandoning ship. So that's kind of like my mentality. Unfortunately, it's made me a little less productive. I'm not gonna lie. Coupled with, watching the end of the world, it's like senioritis to the max, where you're just kind of like, what's the point anymore? I mean, obviously, I'm in the very fortunate situation of being independently wealthy enough to have that be, a fucking bourgeois world problem, I guess, of just being, dreading the end of the world, when I could be actually working while dreading the end of the world, My sister is always, my mom and my sister are always the same. They're like, you need to just get a job. If you just get a job, you'll not be depressed anymore. That's it. That's just get a job. It's like, if I get a job, I'll just be reminded of how the whole fucking system is predicated on this fucking retarded loop nonsense. Anyway, oh wow, there's a lot of comments. All right, let's see. Durham changed a lot. Did it really though? I mean, maybe. It's just, yeah. when I moved here 2008 to now. Oh wow. So you basically we like we're like tag team runners, you know, relay rally, the relay race, and they just handed you the baton and now you're there. It's like going through a portal. I didn't get an alert till now. Well, I always message the Discord when it happens, and it's usually at 6:30. So I don't know. It's what it's always been. Kids nowadays skipping college and picking up a trade. Duke was your first choice. Duke was my 7th choice. Let's see. What was my first choice? My first choice for a while was MIT. Because I wanted to be a video game programmer or something. But then I think, you know, my sister was at Harvard, and she was like, "Yeah, you could do computer science at Harvard too." Blah blah blah, and Boston, or I guess being less technical, I was getting into kind of like, you know, emo music myself, and I was like, oh, well, maybe there'll be more, you know, sorts of sociable musician types at Harvard that I could start some sort of like band or something with, you know, this kind of stupid shit I was thinking about back in high school. Be like this fucking indie, you know, musician while I'm fucking, you know, I don't know, at Harvard or whatever. And so those were 1 and 2. And then everything else was kind of just like filling in the blanks. You know, Yale, Princeton, Columbia, Wharton. Those are the next 4. The one that pissed me off was the Columbia. Because I saw all sorts of retarded people getting into Columbia. You know, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, you know, those are the top, you know, they're traditionally known as the creme de la creme, right? So I'm like, all right, well. And then I applied to Wharton, right? Which is UPenn, but it's like, you know, the more exclusive UPenn, right? So I understood those kinds of rejections, you know, and then MIT, obviously. But then when Columbia rejected me, I was like, how dare you? How fucking dare you, you fucking Judeo-Nazi school. Just kidding. I didn't know that much about Columbia's commitment to Zionism back in the day, but if I did, I probably would have said something of the sort. But yes. All good. Mind needs a rest, especially for us, where the TISM, where our brain is always working. All us yellow nights in the tri-state area should meet up when you come back. Yeah, I think ironically enough, even though more Asians are in LA, right, in SoCal, like meeting up with people is a lot harder, you know, even though I feel like there's a decent amount of you guys out in LA. It just seems like much more of like activation energy and be like, all right, I'm doing a meetup at Line Hotel in K. It just seems so fucking douchey, you know. But then if it's just kind of in New York, you're just like, yo, I'll be at whatever, I'm just like chilling, you know. I'm in New York City. I'm in fucking whatever, wherever, you know. And people will be like, oh, okay, I could be in the city that day or whatever. Or there's a lot of people just, you know, it's just a lot more casual. You know, I remember when I was in my 20s, when I was in New York, it would just be like, yeah, I'll be here at whatever. You can show up or not, you know. Anyway, we'll definitely try to start something up once I'm back in New York. I think like I'm gonna probably try to do a lot of changes once I'm back in New York. Probably won't look as crazy as this. I'm probably gonna get bookshelves and all that stuff. Get more organized. Maybe make it look more aesthetically pleasing. Yes, I know it's not the best. It's very low effort. That's for a reason. It's just so I can, you know, for the most part, it's for myself. It's for like, it's easy to be like, I don't want to stream today. I'll just skip, or whatever. It's too much effort setting everything up. But then if everything is just like you just turn it on, then I'm like, all right, well, I can't really fucking, I don't really have an excuse to just skip. I just kind of do it, and like that gets you into the consistency of it all. And so, yeah, but I understand it's not the best looking stream, and I probably should do some things here and there, put a little bit more effort, and maybe once I'm back in New York, it might be a more regular stream too, except like maybe one or two, like this would be the talking one, and the other ones would be more casual where I'm playing games or whatever, because I got to get on my fucking I have 3 games I need to fucking play that I haven't been playing. But whatever. That'll just be like for the casuals. I don't know. I'm fucking whatever. But yeah. Sup, holy cow, checking in. Yes, sir. Yes, R. A lot of good-looking Koreans at Duke. Oh, well. I guess I'm one of them. Are they? Are there good-looking Koreans at Duke? I don't know. Not that I really saw. I wasn't really attracted to many Koreans at Duke, to be honest. I'm trying to remember. No, everyone I had a crush on was Chinese. Right? Yeah. My mom says you're good looking. Oh, thanks. Well, I get a lot of love from older Korean women, I've noticed. All of my mom's friends kind of all saying the same thing. So I'm like, well, doesn't really do me much. Maybe if they were like 30, 40 years younger and had the same opinion, that might be good for me, but that doesn't exactly translate. Ajumas. Kimchi on pizza is good. Kimchi on pizza is terrible, actually. What are you talking about? Why am I eating kimchi? A lot of church Koreans are libs from my experience. Oh, God. Yes, they are. Asian libs. I got a job and now I'm even more depressed. I don't even have time to spend money on what I don't want to do. Well, yeah, exactly. You don't even have time to read my Substack articles. Harvard wasn't your first choice? No, I mean, it was like a toss-up my senior year at that point. Hyper-competitive now. You would have been a Core 6 beaver too. I guess so. Harvard teaches more business side of engineering. MIT is more theoretical. Our paths literally almost crossed. Wait. What year were you? Aren't you like a lot older than me? How would our paths have crossed? So, I mean, that kind of all feeds into my title of my stream today. World of Ruin. What did I write as my... What is right? People need to accept that there's no making anything great again. I think when I think about concepts like Make America Great Again, right? I try to dissect why it had so much, I guess, pull with a lot of people, especially, obviously the Republican Party, the Republican constituency. And, you know, MAGA, MAGA. This was obviously 2016, right? 2015, 2016, during the Trump election. Um, and how people in 2016, right? They were saying make America great again, right? So what does this imply? Obviously, it implies that America is A, not great right now, B, was great in the past, and C, there's a way to make America the same greatness it was in the past again, right? Obviously, the reason why the Democrats just kept losing to this strategy was because they were in such denial that things were not great. They were kind of like, no, things are great, actually. You're just not woke enough to see how great things are, actually. Um, and so that's why people were just kind of like, fuck you, blah, 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 whatever. The only reason why the Democrats won in 2020 was because of COVID. That was like the most easily identifiable political issue. Up to 2019, Trump had put in a serviceable presidency. You know, it wasn't like, obviously, it wasn't the best, it wasn't the worst, but it was like kind of serviceable. Um, and you know, on the merits of his presidency alone, excluding the COVID response, it seemed very likely. You know, in the beginning of 2020, for example, I was tracking kind of like the political kind of odds at the time, and he was tracking like 65% in the beginning of 2020 before COVID began, and so it was very likely he was gonna, you know, win again because the crop of, you know, politicians that they put out were pretty shitty. It really wasn't until they realized COVID was going to destroy Trump's thing that they were like, you know what? Fuck all this fractionalism, just, you know, Voltron towards Biden. Let's fucking go. And they narrowly won over Trump. They didn't even fucking win by that big of a thing. But they won, right? And immediately afterwards, it was just like a fucking retarded presidency. Democrats didn't do anything that they promised. They didn't roll back anything that the Republicans were doing. And obviously, Ukraine started under their watch, and Gaza started under their watch. So they're fucking scum, right? So then, but I think like now, in those 10 years of Make America Great Again, right? The reason the Democrats have been floundering, like I said, was they didn't accept that America was not great. They didn't accept Proposition 1, that America is no longer great right now. And ironically, that is kind of how Trump is losing his MAGA base right now as well. Right? Because, like, what is he saying with all this Iran stuff? He's saying we're going to blow this place up. We're going to, you know, remove this civilization from the face of the earth. He, you know, obviously every single promise he said about Iran in 2024 just totally fucking out the window. And now he's like, we're just going to, you know, throw American lives in the blender for no reason. And so the big thing about this is that, like, in these statements that he's saying, he's still assuming that America has this power, this military power, like it's the 1990s, like it's the 1980s, like it's the Cold War, that they could just dictate whatever they want. He, in fact, is violating the idea of MAGA by saying we are great. We are great enough to. And then the people of MAGA, they're like, well, they're like, you know, it's one thing to kind of, even setting aside the moral argument about like not being for genocide or something like that, even setting aside that, right? His base can kind of see, oh shit, America's military ain't shit anymore. You know, we aren't great anymore, and now it's our turn to kind of like be in denial. Um, and there are a lot of MAGA people still in denial, and thinks it's a shrinking amount of people, mind you, but there still is a fair amount of people in that bucket of Trump's doing what he's got to do. He's all these fucking like I saw some fucking cope post saying like somehow China's responsible, or somehow China's seeing America's strength through all this. Somehow China, blah, blah, blah. I'm just kind of like, Jesus Christ. Like, how fucking full of cope are you? And there's a problem with, I call fascists now, they are nostalgia populists, right? Nostalgia populists. Make America great again, right? So when was America great? America was great, presumably, in the 1950s, when America had around 50+% GDP of the global GDP. England had kind of lost all of its colonies, particularly India, and it was time for America to kind of like replace British colonialism with corporate, neo imperialism or neoliberal imperialism. And the profits were rolling in, right? 50%, whatever. That's why they killed a bunch of people in Guatemala, because their fruit company needed to be owned by Americans, right? That's why we went into the Congo, killed people there, even though they weren't communists. What was it? Patrice Lumumba, or whatever. But in a way, it's just kind of like, okay, if we're trying to make America great again, people are finally seeing where that greatness actually comes from. People are seeing like, wait a second. For the past 80 years or so, I thought we were fighting wars to spread democracy and freedom. Now it's just kind of like, we're taking the oil. We're taking all of it. Or whatever. And the Strait of Hormuz needs to be opened up or whatever. It's just become very, very clear and obvious to everyone. Oh. And in a way, Trump is actually trying to deliver on Make America Great Again, right? Because if you think about it, if the logic is we need to bomb and be imperialists and control the terms of trade in the world in order to become dominant again, if that's the idea, then in a way he's just kind of like, yeah, well, we just need to bomb places, and then they'll give us their oil, they'll give us their concessions, they'll give us their trade stuff. But it hasn't quite been working. And so a lot of like, I feel like just both Democrats and Republicans now. They're kind of like, well, Democrats, right? They're kind of like, oh, remember when Obama was in power, or they don't even bring up Biden. They're like, oh, remember when Obama was in power? We had and the reason they're saying this is just kind of like, in a way, they're like MAGA too, right? The fucking Democrats have their own version of making America great again. It's like, oh, remember when America used to have a president who did all this shit and you never heard about it? I was seeing some fucking retarded Democrat being like, remember when you could just go to brunch and not have to worry about the president? It's like that's the fucking make America. This is like the fucking MAGA that they want. They want an America. And that is in the way that Republicans and Democrats are the same. They both want an America where there's economic greatness, right? There's prosperity and money is flowing. They just don't want, the Democrats just don't want to think about what it takes to get that. Whereas the Republicans, they don't want to be blamed for imperialism solely. And they, call out the Democrats for being hypocrites, right? They're fine with, using military might as well to get stuff, right? Obviously. But what they have issue with Democrats is they're like, you guys are the ones making the lion's share off of all this shit. You're talking the most shit out of everyone. Like, for example, like the whole immigrant thing, Democrats look like they're so, they're so virtue signaling, blah, 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 whatever. The Democrats really wanted to get rid of the immigrant problem. Or rather, if the Republicans really wanted to get rid of, if the government really wanted to get rid of the immigrant problem, they would make the punishment much more severe towards people who hired them rather than towards the immigrants themselves, rather than all just deporting, blah, 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 whatever. Because what is that going to do? Like, you deport a random worker. So a random worker in Mexico or whatever, Venezuela, whatever it is, they're going to see that and be like, well, I'll take my chances. I'll just go there, hope I can hide from the ICE raids, whatever. But if you actually go after the fucking corporations that use undocumented labor, then what is the guy going to say over there? They're going to be like, oh, well, there's not even any opportunity because, there's no point in me going over there if I can't get a job because nobody will take me because the moment I do, I'm the one that gets fucking, or they're the ones that, lose their fucking entire business. So they have no incentive to want to hire me, right? Do you guys ever notice that? Like at the Home Depots where they do all their ICE raids, it's not the Home Depot CEO or whatever. They're not getting fucking clipped or anything like that. But yeah. Anyhow, I think in this time, right? I think like both Democrats and Republicans, it's just a swing. It's just a fucking seesaw. Whoever's in power, it's their fault at that time, right? That's the way it's designed. But really, it's both of their fucking faults. But anyway, I feel like most people still, right? In 2026, right? The fucking year 2026. You know, in 2020, I was already there, right? I was already this country. We are going to be in a civil war or something catastrophic in the next 5 to 10 years, right? That's what I said. 2020. But I understood. I understood that for the rest of the people, for the rest of the world, for the rest of America, it might take a little time, you know, to understand that that was going to be an eventuality. That this idea of like going back to the way things were is just not a thing in like human history, if that makes sense, right? It's like, you know, the whole kind of idea behind Pandora's box, for example. You can't put shit back in the box, right? That shit's out there, and even in Marxist theory, of course, of like you can't go back in terms of technology. You can't go like back in time because technology already exists. And people will use it if you don't use it. So that's just how human society works. You can't just like say, everybody clean coal, right? That's what Trump was saying. Clean coal, clean coal. We need to go back to coal, right? The only reason that worked in the past is because coal was the only, like, that was the source of energy before oil in the 1800s, right? Before oil, like kind of in the mid to late 1800s, coal was the biggest industrial kind of like thing to use for stuff. But then obviously oil is a lot better in that, they discovered that, they figured that out. And so this whole kind of like nostalgia shit, that just leads to kind of fascist sort of ideology. It's just nostalgia. Fascism is nostalgia populism, where everyone's like, oh, we just need to go back to the way things were. But in order to do that, you have to like turn back time, which is impossible. All right. And so, I don't know. I guess like I kind of think about this because like I think about the people that I talk to or around me about a lot of this stuff. I see a lot of posts on Twitter kind of saying like, I don't see why Americans aren't rioting and taking down their president and taking down their pedophile government and, blah, 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 all this stuff. And part of me is like, I get it, right? I get it. I was there 2020, right? For 6 years, I've been like trying to sound the alarms and trying to be like, what the fuck? You guys are fucking retarded, especially the Asian American community, right? Like the community that's supposed to be all this educated and whatever, just kind of goes to show like education doesn't fucking mean anything when the people with money control education to begin with, right? The people in power, people in American government, they control the education that everyone here receives. So any sort of smartness that Asian Americans are, that's like controlled knowledge. Your knowledge is all fucking controlled. And so we saw that hypothesis play out in the past 6 years, obviously. Like, Asian Americans are not as smart as they think or people think or whatever. They might be technically gifted at things or whatever, blah, 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 but that's not quite the same thing as being intelligent enough to come to your own conclusions Um, that's kind of like how I define intelligence. Um, and so I kind of get it, right? It's frustrating. It's frustrating to see these people um, just kind of fucking like doing the things. But it's also kind of like, on the other hand, I'm like, obviously growing up American myself, it's like, what culpability do I have with American imperialism? Everyone has at least some percentage of culpability of American imperialism. Obviously, if you live in America, that's just it. No matter even if you're fucking homeless, right? Like a homeless person in America has it a lot better than a homeless person in a lot of other kinds of places. So, all this to kind of say that, like, Americans all kind of benefit off this system. Even our gas in general is cheaper than it is in Europe and Asia. Um, so we definitely like kind of just benefit off that, right? Obviously, we don't get the lion's share of the benefit. Don't get me wrong. The lion's share of the benefit all goes to the fucking bourgeoisie and people that fucking run the shit. I'm not arguing that, obviously, but there is some benefit, obviously, in living in a country that um, benefits or gets profits off imperialism. Um, and so, but when I think about that a little more, I'm just kind of like, I think people just, you know, I try not to like judge moral things too much in terms of political stuff. Just because I think like, and I'm trying to formulate kind of a theory around this. But I do think that Hollywood has a big component to this. Um and I'm also kind of like, well, it's not like even if you aren't in the Imperial Corps, even if you're in like kind of like I don't know, a state where people can speak English, I feel like everyone has kind of drank the Kool-Aid from America. Um and it was very 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 potent Kool-Aid, right? These were the top academics. These were the top minds in the West, in the CIA, right? In the FBI, but the CIA mostly, right? They designed a narrative. They were able to control our academics. They were able to control our media. And with Hollywood's help, our media is the most effective propaganda in the world. I saw you know, all these seedlings or whatever that kind of like are like, oh, America, blah blah blah. I'm like, you guys are all about fucking Western entertainment bourgeois nonsense. You guys like are obsessed with this K-pop shit, whatever. You guys just like are willingly like just consuming goy slop, and people are just like moral pontificating about like how if they were an American they would have known. Like, it's like, no, everyone's just all stupid and retarded. And that's kind of like how like even Hollywood itself is sustained right now. Hollywood itself is going through a "Make America Great Again" sort of stage itself, and it is kind of like where, for the longest time, people didn't find anything wrong about Hollywood or whatever. When like these. So yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, these siblings or whatever, anti-American people or like whatever. The Zionist propaganda was pretty blatant in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Nobody ever fucking calls that out. Of these siblings or whatever the case may be. Nobody ever fucking calls that out. Nobody ever fucking calls out all the fucking products that they stand and they're like obsessed about. And that just like is, And so I think that like that's been also why it's been difficult for Hollywood these days to come up with stories that resonate with not just the rest of the world, but for Americans itself. I think that I don't know. I feel like people are sort of like people used to go to the movies and whatever as a distraction from what's going on, but I feel like nowadays it's just so, the idea that God, I don't even know what I'm fucking saying. I'm like fucking rambling. Anyway, let me let's read these fucking comments so I can maybe find something interesting. All right, where is Yosep with the KTSC update? I don't know. Where is he? It's been what, April 9th? December was 4 months ago. We were supposed to get a expose about my life and about my incessant attacks on Radio Korea. An innocent sort of outfit for the grassroots movement. But whatever. Where is Yosep anyway? Was he just here just to give the update and like now that the update's no longer needed, he no longer exists? Is that what it was for? Maybe he was like a psyop. MAGA is probably an implication of the 80s Reagan era to Trump's heyday. Dems were too busy going woke. America, fuck yeah. Rambo, unlimited bullets, beer, women in bikinis. He's low-key promising to bring that shit. Hey, y'all. Even with that shit going on, I'll still take Trump over Kamala. I mean, it just doesn't fucking even make a difference. Like, Kamala was like even more. I mean, obviously Trump reneged on this, but in the debates or in the in 2024, Kamala was even more like, we're going to fuck up Iran than Trump was back in 2024. So I don't understand all this fucking like, if Kamala was in power, this wouldn't have happened. It's like, well, I mean, she actually did promise that it would happen. So at least with Trump, we got the possibility that he wasn't lying. With Kamala, we got a guarantee that it was happening. So you guys are fucking retarded. Trust the plan. Trust the plan. China's lack military presence. Yeah. Nephew trying to grand my phone. Oh. Blue MAGA. Your nephew's working for the CIA. Democrats are blinded that their politicians will somehow normalize America. Yeah, that's the thing I wanted to fucking talk about. Like, that's what I mean by the world of ruin. So, has anyone here ever played Final Fantasy VI, the one with Kefka and like 16 different characters? Terra was the main hero of that. She was like a magic using Esper person, whatever. Anyway, in that game, Final Fantasy VI, there's a point in the game where the main bad guy, Kefka, he like basically the world is aligned when three of these god things or these god idol things, statues, are in the right place. But if they're out of alignment, then the fucking world goes to shit. So he pushes these statues out of place on purpose, and the world turns into the world of ruin. And in the world of ruin, that's like the second part of the game. You go to all these different places that have been ruined by this cataclysmic thing or whatever. And so you go and save the day, right? You part of the world of ruin is you start back with one character again, because you start in the beginning with one character and then you meet all the characters that become your party mates. So in the world of ruin, you start back with one character again, and you're trying to find all the party mates who have been beat down and broken by the world of ruin. And then you rally together to be like, we need to stop this guy and get the world back to the way it was. Make the world better again, you know? Make the world back again. And so they do. They beat the guy. They win. But the world of ruin is still kind of ruined, right? The people who got killed aren't coming back to life. And they still need to rebuild everything, right? And it's gonna take a lot of spit and elbow grease, but that's the way, that's how it's gonna be. I think that like we've now passed a point where I feel like the Iranian sort of invasion last month was that Kefka moment of moving all the statues and everything's fucked now, right? There's no going back from that, right? I feel like there's no going back to a time, even like the 1990s, right? There's no going back to a time of the 1990s, make America great again, right? We're never going back to the 1990s where we could just do whatever we fucking wanted and there'd be no consequences, there'd be no repercussions. Because no one was going to stop. Like, who was going to stop us in the 1990s? Like, China was still kind of poor. Soviet Union was obviously not the Soviet Union anymore. And so in the 1990s, the reason things were quote unquote great was that nobody was stopping us. There were no consequences for our, retarded actions. And then even then, we were given a fake consequence in 2001 that, yeah, America has been deteriorating ever since. The 21st century is not been a good century for America. Let's just leave it at that. But I think the most annoying thing is, I feel like the delusional fucking MAGA people who are still MAGA, I would estimate that like these people are Gen X boomers Never going to change. So they're already just super retarded. It's probably like 15 to 20% of the American population are in this bucket. And then you have another probably 20% of the population, or 15 to 20% on the other side, who are these fucking, you know, liberals who fucking, yeah. But unfortunately, these are the petty bourgeois. This 15 to 20% on both sides are both petty bourgeois 20%. So they have the most influence in America still. Because yeah, I mean, there's that stat, right, where 40% or so of people don't even vote, which is probably mostly like the very underclass people who don't even have like time to vote, right? Um, but anyway, they liked it when the president is much more covert and sneaky. Obama was the former drone strike king. I think Trump took his spot recently. It's good cop, bad cop. No matter what, we're going to jail. You know, you'd be surprised how retarded, figuratively, literally, about technological advances. China beat us to renewable energy tech, so instead of admitting that we lost, we go back to coal. Education equals indoctrination. Unfortunately, Asian American CGeats. Yeah, exactly. R.I.P. Yosef. It's officially dead. It's officially dead now. What's up with Zhang Yu promoting tours in the DPRK? I mean, what do you want to ask about that, Chevy? The only Final Fantasy I ever played was Final Fantasy Tactics. Yeah. I mean, I would say I've never played Final Fantasy Tactics, so I can't say much about it, but I would recommend checking out Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's a good way to get acquainted with that if you've never played Final Fantasy VII at all. I actually don't remember Final Fantasy X. I did play it in college, but I forget. Yeah. But wait, so yeah. I don't know. It's like that scene, you know? I don't know. Does anyone ever is anyone still in that mindset here? Like where cuz this was a very common thing, and I remember, like, you know, David Tay, you know, kind of annoying me with this sentiment. Cuz in 2020, 2021, you know, I would be always like, no, it's fucking over. Like, Marvel sucks. David Tay, you can fucking attest to this. I was like, because he was like, all like, oh yeah, Marvel, it's gonna be awesome. You know, like, we've got all this stuff, and I was like, nope, it sucks. It's gonna suck. It's always bad. And he was like, not a believer at all. And yeah, it sucked balls. It was the worst thing ever. Marvel is probably going to lose a lot of money. I saw some crazy stat where from the 2010s, Marvel had $9 billion plus movies, and then since 2020, in the 2020s, Marvel has only had two. And one of them was Spider-Man, and one of them was fucking Deadpool versus Wolverine, which was both kind of like, well, Spider-Man's kind of like in another. I don't really consider Spider-Man like part of the MCU in terms of like metrics, because Spider-Man is another kind of class of its own. And then obviously, like, Deadpool and Wolverine is like super nostalgia based. But it was kind of like, you know, people were thinking in 2020, 2021, I was like super black pilled and doomsday. And, you know, the reason I bring up the Marvel thing is like people like David Tate. There were a lot of people like David Tate where they were like, yeah, you know, entertainment's gonna be fine. You know, like, this is just COVID. It's just gonna be a phase. Things are gonna turn back to normal. Blah blah blah. And I could kind of see it already. I could kind of see um, things were not going to be ever going back to the way things were. Um, you know, David Tay, you can attest to this. I said back in 2020, you can even tell them. I was like, no, it ended with Endgame. Endgame was it. That was over. I said that in 2020, 2021, when you were talking about the Winter Soldier stuff. I like kind of knew. It was like Hollywood to me is almost kind of like a leading indicator of the mood of the country, of like of the psyche of America, right? It's just kind of like whatever flops or bombs in Hollywood, it's very indicative of where the mindset of people are. Cuz like in 2017, 2018, that fucking Captain Marvel movie, I've never even watched it after I saw it the first time. You know, it made $1 billion or whatever it was. And then its fucking sequel, the Marvels or whatever, made like 250 million. It's like a terrible fucking drop. Um and so, you know, especially in the PMC Asian American liberal class, you know, I'm not just calling out David Tay to call out David Tay, but you know, there are a lot of people like him where um people were like, "Yeah, Doug, you're just kind of going crazy. Things are gonna be fine. You know, yeah, America's got problems, but anti-Asian hate crimes aren't that big of a deal. You know, whatever. It just happens. Just deal with it. Just move on." I don't know. I lost a lot of friends. Let's just say that for being like the sky is falling very early on. Um, and I just think that like by now, if you're still like thinking Democrat, Republican, if you're still thinking whatever, I'm just like, you guys, you're just fucking retarded. There's no putting anything like if you are still Democrat or Republican at this point, you are MAGA. You are Make America Great Again. You are in the assumption of these of the predicates that inform Make America Great Again. You think A, America was great in the past, B, that it can become great again, that it's not great now, and it can be great again, right? It's like it's not getting better um under the current regime. Under the current regime, America will never get better. That's just like mathematically. This is just fucking math. Um, you know, I know people say, I know there was this guy who was like, well, it's agency. You're underestimating American agency. I was like, no, because if you think about it, it's just kind of like I was seeing this tweet where somebody wrote something to the effect of, you know, um, we can't change the health and care insurance, or we can't change the healthcare industry, because that would affect healthcare insurance companies, and we can't change the oil industry because that would affect gas and oil companies. We can't change anything because that would you can't change us going to war because that would affect military contractors, right? This whole system, agency doesn't exist when the math of capitalism takes away agency, right? This is all kind of inevitable. There's only really kind of like, yeah. It's just like we need to all kind of accept we live in this world of ruin, you know? The Final Fantasy VI, we live in this world of ruin. And the best thing we can do is all team up, right? Like Celeste catching fish for Sid on the beach, you know, and then finally like getting off the island and finding everyone else. You need to find everyone else and then team up against this fucking corrupt government. And then rebuild. And that rebuild, it will be pain. It's not there's not that's the big thing. That's the big idea. Everyone in this MAGA bucket, everyone in this fucking 40% petty bourgeois bucket of being a Republican or Democrat, both sides, just the mainstream, both sides, they both think if we just snap our fingers, things will go back to where they were 20, 30 years ago. And that's how I just want it to be. And it's like, no. We need to all accept that's not happening. That's not happening ever again. And but I just still don't see that with a lot of mainstream people, which is why yeah, I'm not so optimistic that a revolution can come without some sort of external circumstances like a world war, for example, right? That's what caused China and Soviet Union to become communist. Maybe that's what's needed for the rest of the world to become communist, right? FF8 was your jam. Yeah, I had an FF8 kind of moment. Though, yeah, there wasn't too many FF8 fans. FF7, it's okay. Wait, Spider-Man is coming back. Spider-Man is in July, though. It's crazy. Like there's like zero anti-Asian hate crimes. Yeah, I gotta see that. Are there if you're an Asian in Asia versus an Asian in America, what is your likelihood of getting assaulted? I mean, why would there be anti-Asian hate crimes in Asia? Everyone's Asian. Checking in Goy. What's up, Wi-Fi? How's it going? Wait, Chevy, are you still here? You didn't answer my question about well, as far as I know, since I like to talk shit, Zhang Yu or Roy Chung I think he was a part of another group called like the Young Pioneers Tours or something before 2020, before I think that's the company that Otto Warmbier kind of went through in 2017. And so I think he was working for that company. Not sure what happened, but he's clearly not working for that company anymore. So he started, I guess, his own company. Since, you know, this is the funny part, because he's always talking shit about diasporoids who couldn't make it work, blah, blah, blah. But then he moved to Taiwan and is never coming back talking shit about diasporoids. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I guess now that he's never coming back to America, He needs to find a way to make money, I guess, in China using his, I guess, skills, which ostensibly are rapping and talking about uh, esoteric Taiwanese history that no one fucking cares about. Um, and I guess he landed on making his own company for travel to the DPRK, which is also kind of funny because they're not opening travel to anyone from anywhere except for Russia at the moment. So naturally, he takes it upon himself to insult every potential customer that asks him questions he doesn't like. Um, Very good entrepreneurship, you know. Very, very effective stuff. But yeah, that's what I guess he's doing. Um, just being a LARP. You know what's funny? It's like he like focused all of his time on being like, I need to learn all this, shit about China and Taiwan and all this other stuff. And then all of a sudden, the KMT, the opposition party leader, she's like, you know what? Maybe let's be bygones, and so on and so on, so forth and so forth. Uh, DPP people, maybe they ain't shit. There's election in 2 years. I think a lot of Taiwanese people aren't retarded like Ukrainian people. They don't win fall for it again awards like the Ukrainians. Um, they might be slightly Nazi, but not enough to fucking actually try it with China. So you know what? Maybe we don't. You know what would be funny? The funniest thing would be if Taiwan just was like, you know what? We're Chinese, whatever. Like, Zhang Yu would literally have no raison d'etre at that point. Right? His whole fucking purpose in life was predicated on this, like, straight crisis. This Taiwan, blah, 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 independence, blah, blah, blah. And what happens if they just become China, like, without a fucking... You know what he is? He's kind of like fucking, like, black liberals who promote anti-blackness to, or Jewish people who promote, like, the Holocaust to get, points for being Jewish, right? He's like promoting this straight crisis as this big thing that needs to be addressed right now, so that he can swoop in and be the hero. But then it would be fucking hilarious if they were just kind of like, yeah, whatever, it's over. Let's be China again. Any chance Trump runs for a third term? I would say probably not, actually. Because what that would do is, well, it would open the door for Mr. Barack Obama, obviously, to run again. And I think Trump, despite his mental condition, I think he has enough wherewithal to know that he would probably lose to Obama if Obama ran a third time against him. So that part is a little tricky because I'm not sure if I don't know if he's aware of that precedent, or he probably is, but who knows? Maybe he is crazy enough to think he'd still win. Or maybe Obama wouldn't run a third term. I would doubt it. I would think that the moment it becomes legal, the Democratic Party would rally around Obama instantly. It wouldn't even be a fucking, like, there wouldn't be a fucking question about it. It would just be an instant rally around Barack if they legalize that. So I don't think so. And another fact is that, like, look, he's what, 78, 79. So in 2 years he'll be 81. He's already got these, Alzheimer bruise injection things. Um, so I think like his his team was probably much more willing to run him this time, obviously, because they had a clear shot at winning against Biden. But I don't think that I don't think he'll run again for a third time. I could be wrong, but that's just my impression. Because if he does run a third time, I think it's very likely that the Democrats will run Obama. How old is Obama? Oh, he's not that young. Well, he's not that old either. 64. Yeah, he can try, but I don't know how you would. I mean, like, obviously there's rumors that like he was stupid to think that, like, apparently he saw Bush super, super unpopular. Well, not super unpopular. It was kind of unpopular until like the Iraq War and 9/11 and Afghanistan War. Then Bush started to become pretty popular overall, and he thought that was going to happen to him. Like, oh yeah, if I start a war with Iran, people have no choice but to make a war president popular. And it's like, I think that was his idea that, like, oh yeah, if I start a war with Iran, people are going to have to vote for me if I run again because they have to keep the guy in charge who's running the war. That was kind of like the mentality. Because previously in America's history, when America was great, people who were in wars, especially wars America agreed with, like World War II, for example. Um, that's when, let's see, what was the election of 1944? Yeah. See, in 1944, Roosevelt won 432 to 99 electoral votes. So he had most of the country. Though it was only 53.4% of the popular vote. Anyhow. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but Trump is saying he can never won two consecutive terms, so he can run again. Well, I don't think that's. I mean, I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but apparently, a 22nd Amendment ratified in 1951 explicitly states no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't say you can't be elected twice in a row. It says you can't be elected twice. Repealing this 22nd Amendment would require a new constitutional amendment. So he would have to repeal the amendment and make the amendment say that back to back does not count. So then he can run again. But yeah. I'm no constitutional lawyer, but I would say that that argument does not legally work. Because that, yeah, the moment it legally works, you're basically opening the door for Obama to run. So, apparently somebody wrote, "Hi there, Chinaman," in my Twitch stream. Automod held a message for a reason: race, ethnicity, or religion. Not really. There are certain limits to what he can do. He can't just do shit. Because again, the moment he does that, the moment he says, "I can run again," there'll be all these fucking lawyers out of the woodwork that will either say, yes, he can, but then Obama can, or say, no, he can't, and that'll be that. That's just how it's gonna fucking be. Anyway, it's probably not even gonna happen. He's like so... Like we were joking about how, like, last term with Biden, it was very clearly obvious they were loading him up on drugs and shit. And it's pretty clear that they're doing the same thing with him. We'll see how these next 2 years go, but I would not be surprised if his cognitive decline was very extreme, especially in the next couple of years. Especially given this whole Iran disaster. I feel like... I mean, just like look at him right now. He's just like rambling like an idiot. Like whenever I read his fucking posts on Truth Social or whatever, I'm just like, this is a man who is not winning. Let's just say this is a man who's not winning, you know? In a way, he is kind of like Hitler, except without the... He's like the worst parts of Hitler. Like, you know, like... Can't believe I'm saying this, but like... You know, at least Hitler had charisma. Or at least Hitler kind of delivered early on. You know, he didn't go to war for 6 years. You know, he did annex a lot of territory without actually having to go to war. So for a while, he was kind of delivering on certain kind of things for, you know, the Nazi regime and the German people, which is why he was very popular in 1940. You know, it was almost kind of like seen as a miracle that he was able to defeat France with very little bloodshed, right? I mean, it was very quick, but because it was very quick, there was very little casualties. And so to the German public, he seemed like, oh yeah, this guy's amazing. He's like getting everything for Germany. And he's not even, you know, it's not even costing us that much in terms of people or whatever. But Mr. Trump, he's doing the worst of it, you know? He's not even doing any of that. And like Hitler, you know, Hitler started taking a lot of drugs. 1941, definitely had a meth problem. Probably other opioids and other shit too. By his quote-unquote doctor. Definitely a meth problem though. And looks like Trump's definitely, I mean, they're definitely giving him shit for, you know, dementia and everything like that or whatever, Alzheimer's. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was taking other shit too. You know. So. It doesn't really fucking matter, to be honest. Again, like, if you're thinking in terms of Republican or Democrat, you're still thinking in Make America Great Again. Because, like, the biggest reason I don't think it'll happen is because at the end of the day, these intelligence services, agencies, whatever, people that actually control things, they know that the worst thing for the American government right now is for those, remember those 15 to 20% on both sides, the MAGAs, blue MAGA and red MAGA, whoever they fucking are. 40% of the population, right? 40% of the bourgeois, petty bourgeois. These people still have faith in the system, right? They still have the faith in the American system as it is right now. You take away that faith, then they start leaving the matrix. And that's the worst thing. So that's why, you know, I think these were just kind of things he was just fucking floating around, like during his campaign in 2024 and all this shit, to like kind of troll Democrats. But I think like you're still working on the assumption that he has agency in any of this stuff. Like Trump is just another puppet. Trump, like once they shot him, once they fake shot him, July 2024, 2 years ago. Once that fake assassination thing, he was in their pocket 100%. So you're asking the wrong question there. You're asking questions from someone still stuck in the matrix. If you're asking about Trump or the third term or whatever, it's just like it doesn't matter. AI is going to take away that faith. Yeah, there's a lot of like there's like a lot of unpredictability because there's a lot of shit that's just could change everything that I don't know. One thing, but again, one thing that I'm not fucking one thing in my mind that is definitely true or definitely predictable or definitely going to happen is that again, we are in the world of ruin. Things will never go back to the way things used to be. You know, it's like that fucking scene in The Matrix, right? Where like Neo just was in that fucking what's it called? He just went through the first thing where he's like where Morpheus teaches him that the Matrix is like, you know, you're stuck in a machine and you're a battery, basically, that whole speech. Right after that, he's like being emo, he's lying down. And then Morpheus comes up to him. And then Neo says like, I can't go back, can I? And then, you know, Morpheus goes like, no, but if you wanted to, would you really want, or but if you could, would you really want to? You know, and that's the question that Cypher goes through, right? But it's just kind of like Democrats and Republicans, they're like Cypher, right? They want to go back into the Matrix. They want to go back into the Matrix, make the Matrix great again. You know? Those are the people who still believe in the American government. They still believe that this thing, they're fine. You know, it's the way American politics has been since the beginning of the fucking country. You know why I say that? It's because I've been reading about the beginning of the fucking country. I've been still reading Creature on Jekyll Island. You know, I'm like almost 2/3 of the way through. It's always been all the problems, all the political problems of America has always been, let's let the next generation deal with it. It's always been hot potato. It's always been, you know. And so we need to now kind of like be like, all right, the bill has come to be paid. The piper is Pied Piper. What is it? The it's time to pay the piper or some shit. Um, I think like people need to realize like Americans need to realize like this shit was never sustainable. This shit was never going to continue unimpeded. There was always going to be an end to this merry-go-round, and the end has come. And now that we're in this world of ruin, what is the best way for us to come together and stop the retards in office from ruining it even further, right? That's what we basically have to do right now. As like humanity, not just as Americans, just as like humanity itself. Like, what is even sacred anymore in a world where people are just doing this shit? People are just fucking murdering people, murdering children, babies, whatever, and then raping them on an island and eating those children. It's like, what? Can you imagine, like, aliens? Like, if an alien was watching this right now, just like with popcorn, just in his cloaked airship with his observer, the cloaked Protoss observer, just watching humanity right now, being like, what are they doing? Why don't they just kill these evil people that are ruling over them? What is going on? Well, if you are still thinking like Cypher, you are still thinking that there's an end to this that doesn't result in total destruction. But I think people need to accept it's like an ego death, right? America needs to go through an ego death. Like America, like an ego death is obviously painful and scary or whatever. But the point of a good ego death is that like you come out the other end and you realize, you actually do prioritize what is important. Or like you realize the things you once thought were universal were very subjective, and you kind of like look for now what is more universal in reality. You kind of seek it out. You kind of like are like, but you need to go through that in the first place. You need to be like, yeah, this was America. This is how America benefited from imperialism. This is what America did for the past 80 years. Most of it was England before that, but America took over the baton in the past 80 years or so. And it kind of needs to be like, okay, yeah, America, I guess, wasn't so great after all. But that doesn't mean we can't change, right? That doesn't mean we can't. Some people take the wrong point about the world of ruin, like living in the world of ruin, just being like black pill to the point where, oh well, if nothing matters, then I guess I'll just fuck around until I die and and do nothing or whatever. Or just even go even harder on being more selfish and degenerate. But I think that's just like another sort of petty bourgeois reaction to it. But yeah, America needs a good acid trip. It, yeah. I mean, problem with that is that, yeah, it's hard to predict what's gonna happen with acid, especially if it's mass mass given to everyone. That would cause problems, I would imagine. America motto: Let's let the next generation fix the problem. Chinese motto: Eat bitterness, meaning struggle now for the future prosperity for the next generation. Exactly. That actually sums up why it's not just fucking China, right? It's not fucking just China that's doing well. Nor is it Japan, which was a Western country, right? Before World War II. They were essentially Western. Um, but the rest of the world, I mean, for example, Korea, they were very poor. They were a very poor country. Um, in 1950, 1960s. In South Korea, you know, for all the injustices of Park Chung-hee's regime, what made it work was that Koreans were, they bought a little bit of that Kool-Aid, right? They were like, yeah, we kind of suck right now. We gotta, but, but, you know, we gotta make things better for our kids. We can't just sit around and do nothing, you know? Yeah, it might suck, you know, working 72-hour weeks for this fucking brutal dictator and his trouble friends. But we gotta do what we gotta do, not for them, but because of our kids, right? There was a lot of sacrifices that were made by South Koreans, South Korean boomers, people of our parents' generation. That's why I give South Korean boomers a lot more leeway than I would give an American boomer for being anti-communist. Because they all went through the shit, right? And, you know, obviously I'm not happy that they are brainwashed and have backward views on reality. But at the same time, you know, it kind of pisses me off when like fucking non-Asian leftists kind of like critique South Korea or South Koreans for you know, for their views or whatever. And I'm like, you guys are fucking whiteoids. Just whiteoids just fucking piss me off. Ugh, God. Fucking whiteoids. Lebanon being attacked left and right. What wasn't Lebanon one of the 10 points of ceasefire? Israel is out of control. I heard that somebody said something like Netanyahu's not dead. I don't even fucking know what's going on. Does anyone have the latest on that? I am not going to be convinced that he's not dead until I see him in a press conference with Donald Trump together. Like, that would be the only fucking thing that would convince me. Like, a live press conference with Donald Trump. Like, where is that? Has that happened in the past month and a half or so? I don't know. China, Korea, Japan, Siberia would make an economic bloc, would be epic. Wait, why Siberia? Yeah, whiteoids or even non-Asian fucking black people or Hispanic people or any other people that fucking like say shit about Asia. They're just like saying whiteoid ideas too. But yeah. Do, do, do. I don't know. Is there anything else going on that I should talk about in the world? I just feel like it's just been fucking Iran for the past month and a half. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm boring. Am I boring? I feel like I'm boring. But it's just kind of like, you know, even Duke losing in the Elite Eight in terrible fashion last week. And then Michigan winning. I guess that's good. Michigan beat UConn, so. It's like 10, 15 years ago, I would have cared a lot about these things. And I care like zero. I care zero about Duke right now. And then, you know, like recently, I guess, Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves got injured again. And so it looks like the Lakers went from 30-1 to winning the NBA championship to like 300-1. And again, another thing, like this is probably LeBron's last potential year to win a championship. Like even like have a shot at winning a championship. And it seems like that's going down the drain. Because like I don't even know who's going to be on the Lakers next year. And again, I check the fucking like box scores and I guess the standings, but outside of that, I don't even fucking watch the games. The only Duke game I watched was the end of the UConn game when I was like, what the fuck? So I just like set myself up for failure. Sports is all fixed. Core 6 Beaver. Bronny signed to the late. Oh god. So, once LeBron leaves, I have no reason to watch. You know, maybe he should leave this year. Maybe that, you know, this is symbolic that I'm leaving LA this year, you know. What else is going on in the world that's not related to Iran? You know. Did I tell you guys I watched that movie, Project Hail Mary? Even that movie, it's just kind of like another, you know, 15 years ago, I've been like, oh, this is a cool movie, blah, 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 whatever. Everyone should see it. Now I'm just kind of like, whatever. What happened to this movie? 2026 in film. It made a decent amount of movie money. 433 million. Damn, actually 200 million budget though. 248 million budget. That's a huge budget for a random original concept, actually. That's not sequelable. Maybe they'll make a sequel, but I don't know. It was a decent movie, but it's just kind of like, you know, Super Mario Galaxy movie, I heard was just like a fucking slop fest. This is apparently what Gen Alpha movies are like now. Just total fucking slop fest that made a lot of money. I don't care about any of this shit. Scream 7. Fucking Steph Curry's movie, GOAT. Who the fuck cares about this shit? Wuthering Heights. Like, you know, maybe I'm biased because I used to be in Hollywood, but I'm just kind of like, I don't care about any of this shit. What else? What other shit is there? Let's go to Google News. You know, Melania Trump blasts lies linking her to Jeffrey Epstein. Oh shit, there's definitely something coming out soon about that. What else is there? Michigan woman Lynette Hooker missing in the Bahamas. Like, this is the slop Google News is giving me. I don't fucking care about this shit. Zendaya at the Euphoria premiere. Great. Israeli fucking TV show. You guys know that Euphoria is just like fucking pure ass goy slop, right? Oh, The Devil Wears Prada too. Actually, I like The Devil's Wears Prada. Maybe I'll watch that. Let's see. Let's see. May 1st. Oh, I guess that was an early thing? Wait, tracking runway. Oh, they're doing like a month in advance early look box office tracking? This is how desperate people are right now. What the fuck? Get the fuck out of here. What else is going on? Let's see. Local news. Iconic LA venue, the Magic Castle, set up to reopen following roof fire. Oh, great. Things to do in San Fernando Valley, LA area. Dozens who lived in encampments are now in housing. Oh, that's great, I guess. It's just like Strait of Hormuz stays shut as Trump demands Iran stop tolls. Never want to see you again. Iconic Marvel duo officially splits. Oh, this is fucking retarded. Why is this fucking news in my shit? This is like news in like Marvel comic news. The fuck? Wait a second. Breaking Bad fans have only 1 month to stream Netflix's best 2-part crime thriller? Wait, this isn't news I care about, actually. Oh. They're saying all seasons of Your Honor are removed. This piece of shit. They made me think they were taking Breaking Bad off Netflix. Fucking kill them. Project Hail Mary, it's like, you know what it's like, David? Remember when we used to hang out in church, like Remnant or whatever, or Joy in the 2000s, in the late 2000s, early 2010s? It felt like a movie we would watch like with church people on a weekend, and then, you know, go to like that fucking what was that place called? Dallas Barbecue in Times Square, like after the fucking movie, and it would be like a good time since it would be like a good time of a movie, and we'd all be hanging out and we all be talking about it and eating our fucking Dallas barbecue afterwards in that big venue. That's what it was like. It was like a good experience in that regard. But it wasn't like a movie you like talk about afterwards, you know? It's not like something where you're like, "Oh yeah, remember that time in Project Hail Mary when blah 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 happened?" You don't really do that with this movie. It's more kind of like "Oh, that was like a feel good type movie, blah blah blah." And you just kind of like, you know, there are like moments in there that are kind of like fun and interesting, blah blah blah. You know, it's the same guys who did like 21 Jump Street and the original Into the Spider-Verse, which I liked a lot. So it's Phil Lord, Chris Miller. So it's an enjoyable experience. It's like one of those movies where when you're in your 20s and you're hanging out with a lot of people, it's kind of like a feel-good, fun movie to like watch with the group. But if you're by yourself, or like just with one or two other guys, like I was, it's like okay, and you're just kind of like, all right, you know, um, you know, I talked to Ivan. He's my screenwriter friend. You know, he tries to watch a movie a lot, or he's watched a lot of movies, obviously, in his time in LA. But recently, just like everyone else, like, for example, he used to be on every Marvel film, he used to be opening weekend, right? But in 2022, I think he started being like, all right, maybe second or third weekend is fine. Then it just became third weekend, third or fourth weekend. Then it became like straight to Disney, you know, unless like it was like a big one. Um, I think the last one he saw was with me. It might have been Fantastic Four last year. But yeah, it's just kind of like you kind of realize that part of the value of a movie is like the social experience behind it. And I think we've moved into kind of an era or paradigm within entertainment where that experience is never really coming back again. The excitement for a movie, the excitement or people being like, oh yeah, we all agree to invest 2 hours of our time together at the same time to be in the same place together for these 2 hours. And yeah, that just does not exist, or is fading rather. I guess it's not like Milk. I can't believe, no, it was not like Milk. Milk was just an awkward that was just an awkward movie where I was like, oh, maybe this will be a nice little art film. And it just ended up being about a gay dude being killed. And I was like, all right, well, whatever. You made just hanging out with your buds eating Dallas barbecue so depressing. Lol. No, I'm saying that was the good version of that. But now you can't even do that anymore. Because, like, well, maybe it's because I'm 40, right? In our 40s, and you're not really hanging out with other 20-year-olds or whatever anymore. But I think the culture has changed, too, where that's just not even a thing, where people go to, like, fucking Dallas barbecue. Like, the 20-year-olds our age, or 20-year-olds now, don't go to fucking Dallas barbecue after watching a Project Hail Mary. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm wrong. But, yeah. Glad I watched it for half off. Yeah, that's generally like, it's not going to leave you with anything like, you know. Yeah, I don't know. Is Dallas barbecue even a thing anymore? I thought it went out of business, to be honest. NYC. No, it's still there. Dallas barbecue. Let's see. Closes soon at 11:30. That's the 42nd Street one. Let's see. More hours. Oh, it's open till 12 a.m. every night. Man. Let's see their menu. What did I get? I always got like a burger, I think. Dallas barbecue. I wonder why they call themselves Dallas barbecue, though. Dallas is not that great for barbecue, I think, right? People love Dallas barbecue. It's always packed. I mean, I guess, you know, it is 42nd. I mean, obviously it's Times Square. And so I think people like it because it's a good place for a large group to kind of hang out, especially in the city where everything is expensive. I mean, it's always expensive there too still, but it's not as expensive as a lot of big places in New York can be. But I mean, we can go back to Dallas barbecue, but it's not going to be as fun with if it's just like two people. It's all downhill, Doug. Exactly. It's all downhill. It's all downhill. All right. Sorry for depressing everyone. We live in the world of ruin. We live in the world of ruin, guys. You know, I kind of it is somewhat of a philosophical question at this point, right? Like what is to be done, right? I almost feel, you know, obviously this is going to sound LARPy, but I almost feel envious of people like Mao or people like Kim Il Sung or people like Ho Chi Minh, you know? Like, for them, it was a matter of patriotism. It was a matter of life and death. It was a matter of how do I save my people? How do I bring my people out of oppression? How do I make it and protect the people that are my people, right? How do I. They were all kind of like their own country's Moseses, so to speak, right? Leading them out of the fucking desert, leading them out of the fucking wilderness, leading them out of Egyptian fucking slavery, right? I almost feel envious because not because they had a good life, obviously they all suffered a lot, right? Ho Chi Minh was away from his own country for the prime of his life. A lot of it, from basically from when he was like in his 20s to like his 50s when he came back. And Kim Il Sung, he was fighting the Japanese since he was 19, up until for 14 years, till he was 33, right? And then Mao obviously led his entire kind of like party, fleeing from the fucking KMT, and then rallied everyone against the Japanese, right? Including the KMT themselves, right? The warlords were like, "Fuck you, Chang, fucking these guys are gonna fight the Japs, dumbass bitch." But me, it's just kind of like, well, there isn't any clear, like, hey, I need to pick up my gun and fight this guy. It's more kind of like, well, kind of have to figure everything out and translate it in a way that doesn't make me go crazy. And it's just very clear. The objective is just so very clear for all three of those guys. And for people in the Imperial Corps, it's just kind of like, well, what is to be done from here? What is to be done? Chinapa scum, exactly. We're just chilies and chilies pa scum. Chili. What would chili pa? Iguk? I don't think there is an iguk, right? Weguk. Chin we pa. That would be Chinese trader, right? I guess is that what they South Koreans called North Korean chin weguk chin we pa scum, maybe. I always got the early bird chicken special and size for $9.99. Oh, do they still have that? I wish there was a Chili's near NYC. Why isn't there? Is there a Chili's in New York City? Huh. There is no Chili's in New York City. That's really weird. They have them in Poughkeepsie, though. And Rochester. Staten Island. I guess you could get it in Staten Island. There's a Chili's. There's a Chili's in Staten Island. Oh, there's one in... Cooper Avenue, Glendale, New York. I guess it's kind of more Long Island rather than... It is kind of close to Queens. Glendale, New York. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna be out now. I've been rambling and been gacking around for 2 hours. Unless anyone else has any questions. Chili's is so cheap. You can get burger with fries for $11. Maybe that's why it's not in New York. Because I don't think they could afford rent if they charged those prices. There's one in Midtown. What? Hold on. Let me see that. 13 East 37 South Chili's. No, that's Chili, David. That's not Chili's. That's like this random Szechuan restaurant. It's got dim sum and cold appetizers. And I don't know what else. We got to go to Staten Island if we want to get Chili's. Apparently, Staten Island. All right. I'll talk to you guys on Sunday, unless there's anything else. Still working on that WMAF thing. Gonna give myself end of the month to make that video, but yeah. All right, I'll talk to you guys